So we are going live for the vocation story. I must introduce myself because I'm sure many of you know me, but many of the parishioners have seen me but don't know me. Who am I? I'm Father Justin Puthussery, that's my last name, and I'm from India. I'm from the southmost state of India, Kerala. You would have heard the name Cochin. That's the main city of the state. So I'm from there. I belong to the Archdiocese of Ernakulam Angamali, which is the major archdiocese, or the major archiepiscopal Zero Malabar Church. And um, I'm here in the US, so I must introduce that first. I'm here in the US for the Diocese of Chicago, which is the St. Thomas Syro Malabar Catholic Diocese of Chicago, which is the particular right diocese in the US for the Syro Malabar Catholics, mainly from India, mainly from the southmost state, that is Kerala, because the church started in there. We'll come back to those stories later, but I must start with mine. So this is a basic introduction about me, and I'm pastor of the St. Jude Syro Malabar Catholic Church, which has got a church in Chantilly now, in the Pleasant Valley Drive, Lafayette Center Drive. So that's about me setting in here. I'm living in a residence with Father Wagner and team of St. Andrews. That's how I come to share my vocation story in the St. Andrews media channel. I'm thankful to Father Wagner for inviting me and giving me the opportunity. I was watching the heroic stories of Father Wagner, Father Brisnahan, and other brothers too. My story may be a little shorter, but anyway, I must start with my childhood. Um, our culture is a bit different. I'm from a kind of village in Kerala, South India. Um, my family was very small, like my father, mother, and my uh, two other siblings. I'm the elder one in the family, and my father was a mill worker in the sense there was a thread mill company in our area, so he was working there, and my mother was just at home, and we were bit far from the church actually. In the sense, it's almost more than 2 miles to walk up to my church. So we were not kind of easily accessible to the church. So we were not regular on a day basis. But every Saturday and Sunday we used to go to the church. So being a child, we were sent to the Christian churches, Christian schools. Actually, first in an Orthodox setting, then in a Catholic setting. So I finished my high school in a Catholic school, but the Catholic school setting in our area is a bit different. The church run the school, but the curriculum is decided by the state. So there is no much to do for the Catholic Church about the curriculum, but about the discipline, about the orientation things, they have some freedom to do that. But otherwise, the curriculum, all other activities are designed by the state. So that's how I was grown in schooling. And during the schooling itself, we had enough chances to interact with priests. Then, on during Sunday catechism, we had a Sunday catechism regularly. I had been a regular student for that because maybe as a child I was afraid of getting kicked off the vocation, the life connected with the priesthood or religious life. And during my 10th grade, I had a chance to attend two of the vocation camps. That's a normal system in our area, like vocation camps. So we go to the vocation camps where we get enough introduction about the religious life or priestly life. Then we start to design. That's the normal way we were in. But as you know, within a year nothing happens with designing. So immediately after 10th grade, I had a chance to join my diocese. So it's like selection by the priest of the parish, then overseed or supervised by the vocation director, then interviewed by bishop. So it's kind of a kind of entrance process. So there was nothing much of discerning that happened before joining the seminary. So we were told even in that process that this is not a kind of decision making time. This is a kind of discerning, the beginning of the discernment. So that's what happened. So we went into the seminary. It was minor seminary system, 3 year. Initial year was like just be introduced to little of languages like Syriac, then English, then to the spiritual activities, then little of a introduction about what's going to happen in the coming years. So this was the first year. Second year and third year, we had the 11th grade and 12th grade classes happened in the seminary. So we were in the seminary, nowhere outside. So that was the 3 years of minor seminary. Then we went to major seminary, that is 3 year philosophy and 4 year theology. That's a major seminary. So total 11 years of training. That was the time of discernment, we were told, and it was really a discernment time. So during my 10th grade, as I was just listening to priest talking, and I was interested in going for vocation camps, my dad, or my we call Apacha, he used to tell me, see, the disciples were kind of normal people, simple people, so don't worry about yourself. That's what's the only thing he was telling. He was never for it or against it, but he was a pious man. He was devoted. He's still living. He's 84 and he's living, and still he enjoys daily holy mass. We call it kurbana. So if he can walk up to the church for daily mass, he's good. If at all some sickness comes and he could not make it, he feels like bad, not like because he's sick, because he could not go to the mass. So that was the type of dad he was. My mom tried to reach up to the church maximum days possible when she was alive. I lost her before 15 years. That was one of the saddest moments in my life. We'll come back to that. So seminary time was discernment. For the minor seminary 3 years, I think I was introduced to more about the kind of spiritual life, a spiritual relation with Jesus, to be with Jesus for more time. So the only question I was raising was, am I really called for your duty or your service or your ministry? That was my kind of concern all the way through my 3 year minor seminary. So we had enough chance to sit in the church before the whole Blessed Sacrament, and we had a kind of conducted holy hours along with batches, same batch. So every time I was asking Jesus, "What am I really called? Do you think I'm good for your ministry?" I think those questions were not answered fully. I don't think, but I got a feeling, okay, I have to go forward and see how it comes around. So anyway, after the minor seminary, I was selected. So there was a selection process after 3 years. So we were like a big batch, but half of them were not selected for the next stage because there is a kind of scrutiny happening with a test paper, then again with interviews. So both of them happened, and I was selected for going forward. So I thought this is like a call. So let me see how that works. So next 3 year I was in a philosophy. We had to do parallel the philosophy degree from seminary as well as from the university nearby. But we never got out of the building because our classes were conducted in the building for both courses. So similar courses. So we could manage that one. So that was a time we could really challenge my discernment about it. So we were introduced to philosophy, history, world religions, and the secular kind of thoughts. So there, I think by the second year of my philosophy, I was like wavering in the sense, what is that? Whether I have enough of faith, whether I have enough of a depth of a kind of simple devotion, even just thinking kind of in a secular manner. I was just worried, but I still remember the spiritual fathers I had. They were really promoting in the sense. The major promotion I got was they say, "This is not you; it is Jesus who is doing." So don't think in terms that you are in control. So you are no more in control. He's in control. Just give to him and let us see how it is turning around. So still I'm keeping that thought in myself. Leave it to Jesus and let it turn around for him, and it will be for me too. That's going on still. So that's how I ended up my second year of philosophy. Then third year was like more intense kind of training, and again a kind of transition to next stage. So there was a kind of scrutiny going on. So we were asked to do some papers and some tests. So that was done. Then the next year, after 3 year of philosophy, it was a regency. It was a real time that we have to find ourselves in a practical setting. So I was sent to Bishop's house. My Bishop's house in the Cardinal Anthony Padiera was there, and we had vicar generals. I had to live in the midst of all those big guns. So I was worried to go in, but I had been put in there, and I was in charge of the publication and printing setup, and as well as a curio shop. So that's how I ended up there. So that was another phase of my discernment. So I came closer to understand what is a diocese, what is a diocesan setting, what is going on in the bishop's house, and all those stuff. All things were new. I was so curious, but that was the time I could engage with the senior priests. That was one of the best time I could understand how the church were kind of going through all the struggles, and how those priests in their timing maintain the pace, and how they are struggling with the new system settings of the modern time. So that's how again my thoughts went back whether I am fit for the ministry. But anyway, by the end, we had a kind of interview with Cardinal Anthony, and anyway, we were sent to. We were told you are selected, and we think you are good to go. So that's how I moved to theologate, and that's another 4 years of theologate. Um, Theology was a kind of real discernment. I think by the end of the first year of theology, I was getting a conviction that yes, you are set to go, and then only I was thinking like I must be ready for it. By that until then, I was thinking like okay, let us go and see how it is, how it is, how it is. But now I was getting the kind of struggle about hey no, I have to be ready for this ministry. So the theologate was a kind of real time about getting ready, but I didn't know how to. But I was always looking forward to the ministry field because we had been exposed to little of those things with my regency time in Bishop's House as well as my vacation timings. All vacations we had to visit some churches and do conduct some programs for children, youth, and all those. So I was having those exposure to make myself ready how to go with it. So that's how I turned to kind of getting set for the ministry. I don't think I could do it fully, but those other 3 years were that, and every year after that, second year, third year, and fourth year, I had to go to different parishes during the course, all Sundays, and minister there with the youth, children, as well as with the family gatherings. So that was another exposure for me to understand better about my ministry. In the sense, I understand. I don't know whether that understanding was whole, but I'm thinking about it's a progressive thing. So we had another extreme chance to understand another ministry, um, in the sense, by the when I was deacon, I had been sent for prison ministry, the ministry with the prisoners. So 2 months I was sent for that. So I had a chance to visit all the prisons in the state from one end to the other end with a team and ministering to the prisoners, kind of sharing, preaching, uh, giving some good orientation with skits, music, and all. That was a different experience. So then, all 2 months, I had been going through these prisons, as well as we were taking care of almost 2 dozens of prisoners. I was living with them and taking care of them, helping them getting jobs, because we were helping them through the renewal process, then trying to get them some job. So that's how we were doing. That's how I spent my diaconate ministry. That ministry was so helpful to see how I can face challenging situations. Every day was challenging. So I think I have formed a kind of will in a way that I am ready to take up the challenges like that. I think that makes me take this challenge of being here in the US and serving the community long far place like this. So that's how I finished my diaconate ministry. Then my ordination came. Ordination was in 1996, February 7th. This is the Jubilee year, 25th year of my ordination. Um, so immediately after ordination, I was sent to one of the remote parishes where we had a pastor who is so elderly and so learned. It was my luck to have him, and I felt like that was a time orientation for the ministry came in a practical sense. All other things were just having some idea, but this was more practical. And then another parish for 2 years. Those timings as a parochial vicar, I think we were told to minister more to the young and the youth than the family gathering settings. All other administrative settings were done by the pastor, so we were a little free to do the ministries. And uh, then I was, after 3 years of my ministry with my diocese, I was sent to a mission in the national capital territory of India, that is New Delhi. So I was there for 5 years doing the ministry to the Syro Malabar Catholic in that area, which at that time was not organized into parishes or dioceses or anything. So I was supposed to go and see them and collect them and gather them and make them ready to come together to worship in their own right and even language. So that was my duty. So I was there for 5 years. That was another time of finding myself, how I am useful for Jesus ministry. The ways Jesus led me was, I don't know, that various and diverse it was. Um, I found out new phases of working with slum workers, because the place where I was settled was surrounded by a lot of slums. You know what is slum from all the Indian films and all, but the slum people. I was working with them in terms of two areas. One is the children, the empowerment of children, and empowerment of women. because which was in a downtrodden shape there. So we were working with the women with the self-help groups and getting some job training and job situations with children. The children were enrolled in schools, but they don't go. That was the setting there. So we were conducting parallel classes for them and making them ready to take papers with the school. So that was a kind of a, what do you say, community school. So we were finding the ladies from the area itself and making them trained and making them take classes for them. We used to engage our community people also to take classes for them. So that was one of the area I could find new and challenging one. Another ministry I had to take up was the same thing, attached to this prison ministry. I was the national coordinator for the prisons in Delhi, New Delhi area. I used to work with the central prison in Delhi called Tihar Jail, which is one of the uh, most populated jail in the world, maybe, with all international prisoners and all. That was another area which was not familiar with me. So lot to learn how people in a different area getting struggled with helping themselves to reach and understand and Jesus, how they were thirsting for Jesus. We had all denomination people there, but they used to come freely to me to see uh, how they could experience Jesus. I don't know whether I served them fully in a manner that they could experience Jesus through me, but I'm sure they were getting something. And we had to do the Holy Week services and special services, not a regular way. We could have Holy Mass there, but at times we could get a permission. So we did Holy Mass. Especially, I remember I did 3 Holy Week services in 3 portions of jail. We cannot mix up the portions of 3 jails. I did a whole Good Friday service. That was rare. I could get a permission, and I did 3 Good Friday services in 3 jails back to back. That was tiresome, but I'm remembering still how the people were interested in it. Anyway, going going wild about it, but coming back anyway. After the Delhi ministry, I was sent for my studies. I did my studies in computer, as well as did my studies in philosophy. I did my licentiate. That was in Bangalore, another south state, in Bangalore city, with the Carmelite fathers, Dharmaram, that institute is called. So I finished my licentiate and was called back to diocese. I was put in a parish which is near to beach. So I had 2 years of beach life. Then I was given the ministry of um, printing press and a publication. I was director for a publication of the diocese, which is having uh, at that time it was like 55, 56,000 readers, means copies of publishing all over India, and another English publication having 6,000 all over the world. So that was one of the jobs. Another was kind of commercial printing press we had. We used to print all these papers, as well as we used to print other dailies there. It was a commercial thing. That was another 5 year. I was wondering, I was asking my bishop even, what is ministry here? But he used to tell, see, you are doing a job, but you should think it as a ministry and take all the employees as your parishioners. Yeah, I don't know how could I do that, but it was a tough time thinking about after a day's job, like from 8 o'clock to 8 o'clock, like 12 hours in the office and all the plans, and coming back to the church for the evening prayer. I was thinking, what was going on? Was it a ministry real? But I could find so many things. Being a priest in an employment environment of a press and a publications. Um, I think Jesus told me about being an employer and being a priest, how to go together. Anyway, 5 years, that was a different experience. Then I came down from there to the Bishops' Conference. I was called for taking charge of a media institute with the Bishops' Conference in Delhi. So that was for 2 years. So I went there. It was a college actually. Some we had some master's courses and other short-term courses for, especially for religious and clergy, especially for church personnels. So that was for 2 years. So that was quite a kind of Catholic setting. So I was happy to be away from the planned setting to a college setting. I had to take some classes, but more than classes, I was on an administrative role of maintaining and controlling all the physical things. As I finished my time there, my cardinal, now the present Cardinal George, he asked me, can you go for another assignment outside India, which is Syro Malabar diocese here. I said, uh, I'm pretty scary about it, but as he said, you take up our term and let us see. So that's how I'm here in US. Um, I'm so happy that I'm here in St. Andrew all the way here, because when I came in, to say, I reached Chicago. Chicago is the center of our diocese. Chicago in August of 2015. I got my appointment to Virginia on the very next day, but I came in September. So I was living in an apartment near Centerville. Um, the sorry, I forgot the name. Lakeside Apartments, surrendered apartments for the time being. So I was there. Then I was going around all the parishes around, meeting priests and getting acquainted with the situation area around here. And I came in contact with the diocese, and they were so happy to help me to find a Catholic church. At that time, the community was worshiping in a Lutheran church, and I got a chance to get into the Catholic Church. So by 2016 June, we started celebrating Mass in St. Andrew's Church, and in October I came in residence with St. Andrews. I'm so thankful to the diocese, especially Father Paul Scalia, who was the personal vicar for clergy, and he made it happen here. Also, he gave me a chance to minister as a chaplain in a Fairfax Hospital, helping with Father Stefan Straczynski. That was a real opening to the world of yeah, kind of health and patients, and oh my goodness, it was new to me because I used to visit the hospitals, but going around in a hospital continuously by room, unit by unit, it was different. And after running through the hospital a month, I thought I should have a training for this. Anyway, luckily I got to Goodwin House, and Goodwin House gave me a chance to do CPE, the clinical pastoral education. I finished all 4 courses there. It was real opening for me. Then I continued the service until last August, and by that time we got another priest in St. Timothy, which covered Fairfax Hospital. So I'm no more going there, but that experience will always remain with me as a treasure. And here I'm so happy now we have a good team here, Father Wagner, Father Bresnahan, and now we have 2 seminarians. So it's rich and thick here. So enjoying, even though we are distanced and we are enclosed in, but it's a real happy kind of situation, living with all these great people here. And I'm thankful to the Diocese of Arlington, especially for keeping me in and helping me with all the stuff. Last February 2019, February, we blessed our new church in Chantilly. with the help of all around here, especially with the um, even our St. Andrew community helped me. Then all our people with the loan. It's a huge amount of loan, but we could procure one and bless it. And Bishop Loवर्di was there in person to concentrate in that function. We are so happy to have him there. Um, and that is my story. Being here, I'm feeling that after the 24 years, I'm in the 25th year, Jesus is using me. I'm just giving myself. I don't know what to do. So about discernment, I said the discernment is going on. Um, Discernment is still going on. We say a call within the call. I'm just waiting and listening for a call within the call, in the sense, what do Jesus want me to do next? Means it is up to him to choose. I'm just giving myself. I'm just I want to wonder the way he takes me ahead. That's what I'm doing. As I left a point in between about my church, Syro Malabar Church. So Syro Malabar Church is an Eastern Syrian Eastern church connected to the Church of Chaldea. That's how we become Syrian. The Indian Christian presence starts from St. Thomas Apostle. That's the history we trace. St. Thomas reached in India by 52 AD 52. That's the history. Then there was an Indian community, but after 3 centuries, the Syrian presence became very strong from the Middle East. So they were supplying bishops and priests and missionaries came in, and that grew slowly. Then after some time, in 15th century, the European missionaries came in. So we have both the Eastern and Western rites there. So we have 3 rites properly. One is Syro Malabar, another is Latin rite, another is a faction that went out from Syro Malabar Church early, then came back, but they connect with the Church of Antioch. So they became another rite, Syro Malabar. That's how we are going in. So that's about my story. I'm not going to detail it anymore, but so this was recorded early and will be given to you, but questions can be taken afterwards. Thank you so much. Please pray with me. Lord Jesus, we thank and praise you for the time that you have given us together, hearing and listening. I don't know how I shared the story that you took me through, but let this become a presence, kind of blessing from you to everyone who listen, and bless all of us, especially in this time of pandemic, to keep ourselves close to you, keep our the fire of faith inside burning always, and get back to a kind of union and communion immediately. That you take control of the pandemic and take it over, and make us all healed and healthy. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Thank you so much.